Welcome to this week's episode of the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijoma, and I thank you for joining me for this episode. And right before we begin our conversation, if you would like to support the podcast, if you enjoy listening to conversations like these, please go to convome.com/support, and there you'll be able to support the podcast. All proceeds go into production and everything that goes into creating this podcast. And now on to the episode. My guest this week is a return guest. I'm having another conversation with Marilyn, and she runs the Etsy shop Gemini Fusion, and she also has her own website now, geminifusion.co. Marilyn and I last spoke way back in 2020. Her episode was episode 294, which aired back in December of 2020. I will link to it so you can listen to that first conversation and get some context around what we're going to be talking about in this conversation. Marilyn, thank you so much for being my guest and welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, Gemma. Thank you so much for having me back on the podcast. I'm so excited to catch up.
I am too, because I really like these catch-up episodes. I like the continuity and just hearing what's going on and what has happened, all the good, the different, and whatnot. So are you ready to dive in?
I am so ready.
All right. When we first spoke, your shop was still relatively new. You were just a few months in, and now you're 2 years in. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for having that conversation with me when your shop was still so new. I know sometimes people might wonder why have conversations with newer sellers, but there's a lot of value in that. And we get to have these types of follow-ups where one can see what happened and what can happen over the course of 2 years if you just stick with it. So in the last 2 years, what would you say has been the biggest change in your business and life in general?
Oh, the past 2 years have been super, super eventful. So like you mentioned, I opened my shop in June 2020, and I think we recorded the podcast September.
Yeah.
I had just hit my 100th order at that time, and I was celebrating. I was so obsessed, and so there's so much excitement around the business at the time, and there still is. But in that time, I got married in 2020. Also had my baby towards the end of 2021, and running the Etsy shop and also opening my own website, learned a lot, and also dealing with what's kind of going on in the world with the economy, just kind of seeing the trends. I think the most valuable thing over the past year is just really collecting data and seeing the trends so I can kind of figure out where to take my business.
And the trends that you look at, are they trends in your business and things that you can trace within your own business, or are you looking at trends outside, like in the world or in your niche?
I'm looking at both. I mean, I love Etsy's tools, right? So in the stats, I check the stats every day, probably every hour actually, just to see how I am doing as far as sales and visits, things like that. And I love how you can compare this time frame or this whole year compared to last year.
Yeah.
So seeing 2021, right? It started off very, very strong, and then starting June, I started seeing a dip in sales. I'm like, so what's going on? Is it the economy, or is it my market share? With Etsy, what happens is, you see something trending and then a lot of people jump on it, right? So a little bit of both. And I did a lot of research to see what was going on. And just tried to hang in tight and also try to figure out how to bring it back, right? Or bring my sales back up.
And when we spoke, like you said, at the time, you had just hit your 100th sale, which I can feel the excitement even now because it's a big deal, because it can be a struggle. As of today, when we're recording this in 2023, you're at 6,064 sales.
Correct.
What would you
Yes.
say? Congratulations, first of
Thank
all,
you.
in 2 years. What would you say are some of the things that you did that helped you grow in this direction?
I think a lot of what it is customer service. I believe that's very important. Just kind of seeing what your customers want and making sure you over communicate with them. That's how I differentiate myself from like my competition.
Okay.
One of my biggest lessons learned would be bride jackets, right? So when I started out, I had two styles. And then I started thinking in my own head, oh, this would be a cool style. This would be a cool style, but said no one ever, aka like no one really asked for it. So I learned in a sense where I started launching different styles that I thought would be cool or that I did research on, but no one asked for it. So whenever I got like a custom order, I started putting those up as like their own listings. Or let's say for styled photo shoots, I'd get a request from a coordinator or a photographer, like, can you do this? I'm like, I usually don't. And at that time I would see, okay, I don't really see this selling, or, there's another variation that I have to spend money on and make a prototype. But, just kind of putting it out there, and it actually became one of the best sellers. So one of the things that really helped me was just to follow what the customers ask for and put it up.
Do you ever feel that when you do that, like using a request from a customer and then integrating it into your store, that sometimes they might, I don't know if take offense is the word, or just like maybe not want everybody else, having that, special design that they thought up?
No, actually, I haven't ran into that at all. Actually, my customers are amazing in a way where, let's say I do make a custom order for them, and they're so gracious enough to share the photos with me afterwards.
Oh, nice.
But that also helps my shop, right? Because when I take pictures of them, it's like hanging on the wall or on a mannequin.
Yeah.
And then when their pictures come out, they share it with me and I get to update the picture.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. You serve one of the toughest markets, brides. Hard, not, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean, brides can be a hard customer to service because, one, there's a lot of stress around weddings and brides take that on a lot. Two, weddings are, just stressful in general. What things specifically, when you say customer service, have you done to really set yourself apart? I mean, in addition to being accommodating of custom orders and what have you, what specific customer service tips can you give to others who maybe might think, hey, if they get what they paid for, that should be sufficient, and it's a good product?
So what I realized was a lot of brides, right? Maybe they don't think of bride jackets as the first to do, but maybe one of the last, and they need their jacket in a time crunch. I got a lot of requests for rush orders. And so at first, when I was new to the business, I was like, okay, sure, I'll do it sooner. But then as my queue began to grow, it got a lot harder to juggle and push orders back and back and forth. So I would rush them, but then I learned, this is also my time, right? So then I added another listing. It's an add-on for rush processing. And the way I explain it is, if they purchase this in addition to the jacket, then I'll be able to bump up their order, and then I'll ship it with priority mail. And they seem to really enjoy that. And just, with experience, at first, it used to take me, my turnaround time used to be about 2 weeks for these jackets. But now I think what sets me apart would be how fast I process the orders, as well as kind of just the experience that they get when they open their packaging. So I used to package my jackets in like tissue paper, make it all cute. But then what I learned was when I got some returns back, when I open it, like the tissue paper is all crinkly and it doesn't look as professional, right? So yeah, now I like pack it and seal it so it just looks very clean, right? Very new. Obviously with the cards saying thank you and all that. So that's what they really appreciate lately. The reviews that I've had, a lot of customers say, you know, I literally ordered this 2 days ago and I got it in the mail in 3 days.
Wow.
Like, thank you so much for helping me get this jacket before my event. So that's what I would say would set me apart from the rest, and what I mean by like just going over the top with customer service.
That's great. That's great. And I saw that you do have the Rush upgrade, and it's actually one of your bestsellers, which is kind of funny to think that
I saw
a Rush upgrade is a bestseller. Makes you wonder.
Yes, that shows you how much, like, you know, brides really need their jackets like ASAP.
Yeah, exactly. Have you heard it said in business circles that, you know, when something is selling a lot, then maybe you're not charging enough and you should raise your price? And have you ever considered that? Like, for example, when it comes to the Rush upgrade, if everybody is rushing at some point, you know, if you feel like you might get to a bottleneck, do you think raising the price would now buy you back more time?
Definitely. I actually started off with offering the Rush processing for $10. And I just saw that it was such a demand. So then I bumped it up to $28. I believe that's what it is now. Yeah. So I had to determine like the threshold, right? Like how, like what would stop the customer? Like what's their max that they would pay to Rush? I believe since I have improved my turnaround time on just the actual physical jacket itself, I believe now it's listed 2 to 5 days. And the option to Rush is still there. But since I am working on the jackets faster, you know, I did make sure to account my time into the actual physical jacket itself too, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So now, over the last 2 years, you've also expanded into having your own website, GeminiFusion.co. And for anyone who wants to check it out, I will put the links in the show notes for this episode, both to Marilyn's Etsy shop as well as her website, GeminiFusion.co, or you can just hop there now. What went into your decision to create your own e-commerce website?
Having my own Etsy shop, I really loved it because it's a very good place to start. And it's a good learning platform because they market for you. You have all the tools for you. I just thought it would, you know, more so legitimize my business in a way. And, you know, Etsy, when you go towards the bottom, it shows you other shops listings. I didn't like that at all. I still do well on Etsy, but it's just I didn't like how I was losing some, right? Going to other shops. So wanting to design my own website with my own feel, my brand colors, all that, I ended up hiring an agency to help me out with that in the beginning.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And so the agency built everything out. You didn't try to DIY it.
You know, looking back, still very green, still very new, right? I just told you the reason why I wanted to launch the website, just to quote unquote legitimize my business. If you ask me now, it's a good another stream of revenue, right? I found a company that made really beautiful websites. And again, I didn't know much. I didn't know anything about Wix, Shopify. I forgot what the other options are, but I called them and didn't realize that they don't specialize in product-based businesses. And on Etsy, I have a lot of listings, right? On Etsy, you preach to the more listings you have, the better.
That's what they say.
Yeah, at that time I had 40. So I didn't know any better. I'm like, that's fine. I'm sure it'll work. And when I got the website, it was beautiful, but I was so upset because it wasn't as smooth to order. I mean, my items are personalized and on the actual product itself, when the customer would add it to the cart, you weren't able to put what they want on it. And I was like, I don't want to have to email the customer,
Oh,
after the
yeah.
fact. And the only way we can work around that was to have a box at the checkout. I'm like, that's still, what if they order multiple jackets? Having them type all that in is really difficult.
Yeah.
I did pay a lot for it, so I roughed it out for a year. Again, it was really beautiful, but to edit the website was really hard. And so, as time went on, I just did more research on what's the best for product-based, businesses. So Shopify. Then I rebuilt my website after a year.
Yourself?
So I paid all that. Yes, I did it
Oh,
myself.
no.
So, the beauty of everything now is you have everything at your fingertips. So I just did a bunch of research, took some time. Shopify is actually very easy, very user-friendly, I would say. So don't be intimidated by it at all.
Yeah.
I rebuilt it, and now the customer journey from the moment you hit the website to when you place the order is smooth.
Yeah. So looking back, what would you tell that person who, like you, also wants to create their own brand independently of Etsy, not necessarily leave Etsy, but like you have a legitimate, presence on the internet that belongs to you? Spend the money or try and DIY it first?
Personally, I would recommend everyone to do a bunch of research on how to build a website, also user experience. So knowing, what to put on the home page, like bestsellers, let's say.
Yeah.
So you do research on what to put on the website, how to place it, so you lure customers in and want them to place the order, right? So it goes all the way down to like the verbiage you have on the website.
Yeah.
Like place order now or shop now, things like that.
Yeah.
I would DIY it. It's really not as intimidating as I thought. I would say it's rather easy once you get over that hump, right, of just being like intimidated by it.
Yeah.
It's actually very simple.
And I like that what you mentioned is not just the technical aspect of building a website, because I do believe Shopify makes the technical part easy, or,
Correct.
easy enough to figure out. But then there's the psychological aspect of, what happens when people land on your website. What do you want them to think? How do you want them to feel? What do you want them to do? How do you want them to navigate their way through the site and end up where you want them going to? Like, in your case, end up with an order in the cart and then checking out, and understanding the customer psychology. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's a part of running an e-commerce website that we don't often talk about. And I know we talk about search engine optimization. I think by now everyone pretty much knows, okay, I'm going to have to drive my own traffic. But the psychology of, how your customers' experience is not as commonly spoken of. Speaking of search engine optimization, do you do much of that with your website?
I am still learning a whole lot. So when I launched my website, I tried to do it to the best of my ability, right?
Yeah. And it looks really good, by the way.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would say it looks good. I personally didn't know too much about SEO.
Yeah.
So, I just made sure I had a description on each product and like a title. Literally just this week, I learned about the alt tags.
Oh, yeah.
On each photo. So, still working on that. Yeah. And trying to boost my visibility on Google.
Yeah. It's a long journey, Marilyn.
It is, and it never stops.
No,
it doesn't. Gotta be on your feet as a business owner, right? Like there's never a slow time. There's always something to work on.
Yeah. Yep. Even when sales are slow, there's stuff to get done. There's stuff to do. Yeah.
Always.
And speaking of which, so when we spoke the first time, you were still working a day job. Now you're no longer working a day job. This is your full-time income. You are 100% businesswoman. How did you know? Congratulations on that. And how did you know when it was the right time to move over and focus 100% on growing your own business?
It kind of all fell together. It was in my mind for the longest time, and I was really afraid, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what if I left my day job and my business didn't go well, or so many what ifs.
Yeah.
And honestly, I had my son to help me out with this decision. So I had him in September of 2021, and
Yeah.
I was on maternity leave. My shop was actually on vacation mode for 2 months of that time. And in the end, I was like, I don't want to leave him. And the only way I can be with him is if I do my business full time by itself, and I will have to manage. There's no failure's not an option for me. So that kind of was what it was. I'm like, it's really not an option. I'll just have to juggle it and figure it out.
Yeah.
And I got really lucky with that. So, for me, it was just more so like being with my son. And so when I had to return back to work, I could not imagine working full time, running my business full time, and taking care of my son. And kudos to those who do.
Yeah.
I just didn't see it for me. Like, it's just a lot. So that's what helped me make my decision.
Oh, good. And how have you felt now, like being, how when you have a job, there's a sense of security that comes with, okay, I know that paycheck is coming. I can predict how much it's going to be. I can assign, money to different things. When you run your own business, you don't always have that assurance. How have you built in, what's the word? I guess, forecasting into your repertoire of running, a business, and just making sure that everything is still, kept afloat. Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Totally.
Okay.
So I would say I totally experienced that last year as well. So, 2021 being my full year, just doing my business solely. When I started to see my sales dip in June, that's when I really started to panic. And I was part of a mastermind, and it was, really, I guess, comforting to know that other businesses felt that way.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm just like, but that's not good enough for me. Right. So, I have planned, I guess, like a bare minimum that I need to make to cover my bills. From there, yes, business was slow, and I tried to do as much research as I can. Like, what can I do to bring my sales back? Like, what is the market changing? Why aren't brides wanting jackets anymore? Are they holding onto their money a little tighter? Is it hot? Right? It's summer. I'm not sure. So, yeah, it's a different stress. Your mind starts racing. Yeah. You have to make ends meet. And again, for me, I'm not just going to sit there and kind of let it happen. I was trying to be as proactive as I can.
Yeah. And one of the things that you did, or you've done over the last couple of years, is expand your product line. How did you decide what new lines to carry, and how have they been doing compared to your flagship bridal jackets?
So I started off with bride jackets, and I started realizing that's very, 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 very niche. It's for brides, the jacket, and also it's denim. So I want to just kind of like provide more options and expand my reach. A lot of customers were asking for kid jackets, for like matching flower girl jackets. And at that time, I wasn't ready for it. Yeah. I wasn't ready for it. And I just kept saying, oh no, sorry, we don't carry that. And I kept saying it over and over again. I'm like, wait, but they're asking for it. Like this, there's opportunity here. Yeah. So naturally, I fell into kid jackets. And this is where I was testing a little bit. Etsy is also the perfect platform to test out any ideas you have, right? It's 20 cents a listing. What do you have to lose? So I put up listings for kid jackets, and again, you do your research on Etsy. There's competition. Don't copy them, but just get ideas, right? Of what keywords, what tags, all that. And it just ended up blossoming, and it's beyond just for weddings. So for kid jackets, it's, for events. So this past, holiday season, it was a big hit for Christmas gifts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then I recently just launched today, actually, personalized bridal gloves. And to be honest, I'm still trying to determine, I guess, which avenue to take my business, whether it's going to be, generally personalized items or just stick with the bridal industry. But definitely personalized. So again, I'm trying those out, and the gloves also seem to be a hit.
Oh, nice. You know what I was thinking, Marilyn, as you were talking was, I don't know that, and you tell me if you think that this would have been possible if we just talked about how, it can be scary sometimes not knowing, if you're going to make ends meet. But then also, now that this is what you're doing, it's like you're able to conceptualize new products and new product lines. Would that have been possible, or do you think it would have been possible had you not taken the step to devote yourself fully to your brand? Like, 2 years ago, would you have thought of personalized gloves or, other accessories for brides?
I definitely do think it would still be possible if I thought of this 2 years ago. I guess my naive thought was, I'm going to be doing this business full time while taking care of my son. But really, my time is primarily with him, and I work at night. So it's not that I don't get to dedicate all my time yet, because I don't put him in daycare as much. But I would definitely say it's possible. Back then, when I was working my full time job, and having this business, I literally kept a notebook by my side. Just so any idea that popped in my head, I would write it down so I don't forget it. And then on my lunch, I was very scrappy. So on my lunch, on my phone or on my laptop, I would, do some research or put up a new listing and things like that.
Yeah. Nice. Good. Well, that's encouraging for anyone who is listening and perhaps is not yet at the point where they can focus on their business full time or, leave the day job, knowing that you can still expand as much as you want to and stay on Etsy, and you don't immediately have to drop everything. Or staying on Etsy doesn't mean that you can't necessarily scale. I know some people can't scale beyond a certain point, but there's a lot of room to grow even while you're still on Etsy. Between your website and Etsy, where do most of your sales come from?
The majority of my sales still come from Etsy.
Okay.
I would say, because on the Shopify side, I'm learning marketing, I'm learning SEO, all that stuff. So it's primarily Etsy, and I would say it's 80% Etsy and then 20% my website.
Okay. Is the goal to eventually have an even split or maybe more on your website?
Yes, ideally, I would like to reverse that. So I'd love to bring in my own traffic. And, they say when you have your own website, your customers are your customers versus Etsy. They're Etsy's customers where you can't email them, right? So my goal is to get it reversed.
Yeah. Let's talk about exposure. You, over the last couple of years, have had your brand featured in a number of publications. What was that experience like? And some of these are, publications that are well known, like Wedding Wire and Brides, but others also. What was that like? And what was the experience like?
It's very flattering. But I remember the first time I found my bride jackets on brides.com. It was Christmas Eve of 2020. Randomly, I like to see where I rank on Etsy. So I just kind of sit there and go on an incognito on Google Chrome, right? And I see how my products rank. And then I ended up just Googling it, bride jackets. Yeah. And checking brides.com, they had an article on like the top best bride jackets of all different styles. And I was scrolling through and I recognized my picture. They don't notify you when they do this, so I was scrolling down and I was like, that's my photo. I kept scrolling down, like, that's another one, and that's another one. So it was amazing how that started. And looking at my stats on Etsy, I saw how much traffic that brought to my business. I'm
Oh,
like, this is
wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Wedding Wire and Brides, they don't notify you when they include your product in their article. So from then on, I just was hyper and I started looking up, Wedding Wire, do they have any articles, things like that.
Yeah.
I just really saw what it did for my business. So at that point, I started reaching out to some accounts to see if, I can be included in anything. And so it's always really good to do. I know Voyager loves to interview small business owners. And I also was a part of a vendor collective. So, any publication you have, it really helps boost your business and bring, it's called backlinks. Like whatever traffic is brought to that will come back to your Etsy or your website. And
right,
Etsy really loves that. Etsy really loves when, you bring traffic into their website.
Yeah.
So I think that was a key to my success, like to helping me get to also 6,000 orders.
And you're right about Etsy loving that, especially from when it's traffic from what are considered high domain authority websites, which for anyone who isn't familiar with that, it just means that the website is really popular and very well known. So in the world of SEO, it's they call this thing domain authority, and the higher your domain authority is, the more, I guess, clout or power you have. And so when a website with a high domain authority, links back to you, search engines like Google just love that because it's giving you credibility, and it's saying, yeah, this person or this website or this shop, this link is legit, and so we'll send traffic that way. And so of course Etsy likes that because the link is coming to Etsy. So now going forward, Marilyn, the plan will be to figure out how to get them to link to GeminiFusion.co.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good deal. Do you still do a lot of social media? Is social media still, or even at all, a part of your mix for promoting your brand?
It definitely is. And what I've learned in the past 2.5 years, it is not my strength. So I have hired out for social media here and there.
Yeah.
And it really helps me, it alleviates me, right? Because like for me, I'm like, caption, oh my goodness. And it's beyond just a caption now, right? I know social media is changing. You got to be on your feet, get on the trends quickly. And now there's another platform, TikTok, right? So I do try to bring visibility to my brand on social media. Again, it's not my strength, but I do try.
Right. Well, at least you recognize that, and you try to get help with it from somebody whose strength it is. Did you see good results from outsourcing social media when you did?
I did for some and I didn't. And I would say when I hired a specific small business to handle my social media, I just realized, they were juggling other accounts. So I felt like their work and their captions were kind of empty. So it was just, to me, it felt like just a check mark. Okay, posted for today, but like it wasn't engaging enough. And then I did outsource. After that one didn't work out for a couple months, then I tried Fiverr, had a horrible experience on there. I feel like it made my account worse in a way where they bought bots and they had them, exactly 100 likes on mine, exactly 100 additional followers. So I was like, oh no. And some of the captions were written really poorly. So learn from there. But recently I did work with a company called Strawberry Milk Media, and they really, really get to know your business, and they study it and do all their research on their end. So the posts were more engaging. And when Reels started, they also posted Reels for me, and I really did see a huge benefit from that. So I guess my advice would be to really vet out who you're hiring. To make sure that your content's engaging.
And did you call them Strawberry Milk Media?
Correct. Strawberry Milk Media. It's
Oh,
a agency based in New York.
okay. Okay. Well, that sounds legit.
Mm-hmm.
um, Looking at your Etsy store, it looks to me, and I could be wrong, from the layout that you have like one of the paid subscription plans. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, how has that experience been? And I can usually tell because they give you, you have the ability to have like a custom header and featured section and whatnot. Have you found that that has been helpful?
I feel that it makes like the Gemini Fusion homepage
Mm-hmm.
um more aesthetically pleasing, and I'm able to highlight more of my products. So as I was expanding to, let's say, kid jackets, I wanted to make sure people can see that up top. So it helps in that aspect. I believe I showcase, the rush processing for one,
Yeah.
add-ons in another collection, kid jackets, and patches. So
Yeah.
on that front, it really helps.
Okay.
And also they give credit for ads, which I do run ads. So
Okay.
it gives you, I don't quote me, I don't remember how much they do, but
Mm-hmm.
they do give you a little bit of credit.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as, let's say, does it bring me sales in that aspect? I'm not sure.
Okay. I mean, I know they said when the subscriptions first started that they weren't going to be a factor in search ranking, but then,
Mhm.
of course there were other perks that you got, like the, or not you, but subscribers would get like the credit for ads and all whatnot. Are you able to trace how much traffic comes from the on-site ads, and is it significant enough that folks should give on-site ads a try?
I know on-site ads has a bigger percentage that they take, just because I feel like my ad spend is a little bit higher. Um, I do get quite a few, and at first it was daunting, right? How much they take, and
Mm.
so I was like, maybe I'll dial it back. But I noticed that when I did dial my ads back, my visits obviously were less, my sales
Yeah.
obviously were lower as well. So I do spend and invest in ads
Okay.
for offsite ads.
Off-site and on-site?
Yeah, offsite and onsite. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Marilyn, okay. Can you talk to that person who today is listening? They're just starting their journey on Etsy, and they really want to make this a successful venture. What would you say to that person to just help them, to encourage them on this journey that we know sometimes is not the easiest?
I would tell those who want to start the Etsy journey really to get scrappy. I know in the beginning it's daunting to start a business, start an Etsy shop, but start little by little. And again, we have all of the resources at our fingertips, like Google anything. We have Skillshare. You also have, social media to reach out to other business owners as well, and they're more than willing to help. So,
Yeah.
it only takes 20 cents to get started.
Yeah.
Start from there. Make sure you do your research on your product, on like SEO and all that stuff, and it'll just all come together. Don't ever stop. You have to really be on your feet, and there's never a time period where you can rest. And just so understand that it's a lot of hard work, but it's very rewarding.
Yeah. Thanks, Marilyn. That's encouraging. Are there any other resources that you've found particularly helpful? I know you mentioned after lots of trial and error, Strawberry Milk Media
Correct.
for social media. Any other resources that over the course of the last couple of years you've found to be particularly helpful and useful to you?
I love just also watching YouTube videos, specifically on Etsy, on how to help listings. So the two that I follow currently are Hannah Gardner and Nancy Badillo.
Oh, yeah.
And they give a lot of helpful Etsy tips, even on what products may be doing well this season, how to search better and stuff like that.
Oh, nice. Great. Nancy was a guest on the podcast. Oh, I want to say maybe 3 years ago now. It's been
I
a
believe
while.
that's how I found her too, through
Oh,
you.
great. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I should have her back on. So much has changed, I'm sure. And then Hannah Gardner, I'm not familiar with, but I will find a link to Hannah's channel and, of course, Nancy's channel. And I'll put them in the show notes for this episode so folks can go and check them out. I know Nancy is forever giving away good information and helpful tips and just so much education. I don't know how she does it, but a lot. So definitely follow her, and she's on Instagram too. I think she shares on both places, so you can pick whichever platform is more your speed, and I'll have links to those. Okay, Marilyn, fun time. Do you have any Etsy shop shout outs?
Yes, I do. So I was a part of a mastermind and I met May. She is the owner of Pop It When She Pops. So she makes very cute circular tags that you'll put on like champagne bottles. So all different designs. So when a mother gives birth, that's what you drink, the champagne.
Oh, nice. So they're for the champagne bottle, like custom
Correct.
covers for oh, that's ingenious.
It's super cute.
Yeah. Okay, and it's Pop It When She Pops.
Correct.
Okay, all right, great. I will put a link to that in this episode. Now, you've mentioned the mastermind a couple of times. I'm curious, how did you find the group that you found?
Oh, so yeah, the Product Boss Mastermind. I would say I joined literally when I quit my day job. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't alone. You hear a lot about when you're a business owner, starting out, solopreneur, like you're alone. You feel very lonely. You have no one to run your ideas by. So, having a big group, I think there are 40 people in that, just to run your ideas by them, and also to know that they're like what you're going through, they're probably going through it as well. So in this past year, right, with things kind of happen in the world, we all just kind of like, hey, like we feel like sales are so slow this month, or in the summer sales are super slow. Oh, me too.
So are you still a part of the group now?
Actually, my membership expired just recently.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Do you think it's worth it to join, even for a year or two, for someone who's just starting out?
It definitely is worth it. All right. There are a lot of things that you don't know or are not aware of that other business owners who are more seasoned do and have done.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot of, small tidbits like story sales. So let's say if you want to push, inventory, be present on social media, do a sale in your story and things like
that. The story sales, I've heard that term before, and I've never quite understood it. Are they live sales? Like, are you selling live, or you just posting your story about something being for sale?
You can do both. So I've seen what I've seen is you can either make graphics of the product for sale, but you create urgency around it. So, hey, I have like 5 of these left. They're discounted to this price. Get them before they're out, or the first 5 people to claim this, they get it. So it seems to really work because sometimes people are more interactive that way.
Yeah.
Versus like going on your website or reading something, going to your website to purchase.
Okay. Now, the Product Boss, that's the group by Mina and Jacqueline?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. They were also on the podcast 2021. Yeah. I guess almost a couple of years now ago too. And yes, they do offer this group and resources for specifically product-based businesses. And so if you're listening and, like Marilyn said, you're on your own and you're kind of struggling and you want not just a community, but resources as well, or not just resources, but a community, do check out the Product Boss. And I'll link to how you can find them as well. So I don't know anyone who has been in the group that I'm aware of, I should say. So it's nice to hear firsthand from someone who has been a part of their mastermind and really benefited from it. I like these kinds of testimonials.
Yes, it was amazing.
Nice, nice. Marilyn, what's the best way folks can connect with you if they want to get in touch, if they want to follow up? Where can they find you?
You can connect with me on Instagram at gemini.fusion. And I'm also on my website, and there's like a contact page, so geminifusion.co. Or if you'd like, you can email me, and that's hello@geminifusion.co.
Okay. I will have links to all that and all of Marilyn's contact information. Marilyn, are we going to wait another 2 years?
Or let's do it sooner, right? We should do annual.
I know. I was going to say, or, should we do this before then? Yeah, I love updates like this because, and I think I said it earlier, I really do think that they're very encouraging and they just give people hope and, they're educational, but I think sometimes people just need that infusion of, okay, yes, I can do it. She did it. It can work. It does work. Let me just hang in there. So thank you for coming back and sharing the continuing story of Gemini Fusion. And I look forward to having these annual conversations.
Thank you, Gemma, for including me.
You are most welcome. And I thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. I will be back with another one next week.